cheap cars that can last forever. Not literally forever, obviously, but long enough that you stop thinking about what am I going to buy next and just drive the thing for years, while other people cycle through payments, breakdowns, and bad decisions. If you're an adult man who's already owned a few cars, you don't need me to tell you cars are expensive. You've lived the repair bills. You've watched depreciation chew through what looked like good deals. What you probably care about now is different than when you were 20. You want low drama, predictable costs. You want something that starts every morning, doesn't nickel and dime you, and doesn't embarrass you to be seen in. The good news is, those cars exist. They're usually not exciting on paper. They're not YouTube thumbnail material. But from an engineering and financial perspective, they're exactly the kind of cars that quietly rack up 200 to 300,000 miles if you treat them right. If you like car content that respects your intelligence and your experience, where we talk about why certain cars are durable and how to actually own them smartly, subscribe, because every car has a story, and I'm here to decode the ones that won't empty your wallet. Let's break down what makes a cheap car that can last forever, and then we'll talk about specific types and what to look for when you're shopping. From an engineering standpoint, no car is immortal. Metals fatigue, rubber hardens, plastic cracks, electronics eventually give up. When people say this car lasts forever, what they really mean is this: the engine and transmission have low inherent failure rates. The design tolerates imperfect maintenance better than most. Wear items are cheap and easy to replace, and the car ages in a predictable, manageable way. In other words, it's not that nothing ever breaks, it's that what does break doesn't take the whole car down with it. You want simple, proven engines, conventional automatics or manuals, no fragile turbos, air suspensions, or overly complex electronics. You want parts that are widely available and a platform that independent shops know well. What you actually don't need is the latest tech, 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, fancy materials, or a badge that impresses strangers. By this point in life, you probably care more about not thinking about your car than about impressing anybody with it. Let's talk about the engineering traits first. Then we'll talk about categories and examples. Number 1. Naturally aspirated engines. Generally speaking, a simple, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder is the backbone of the lasts forever category. Why? There's no turbo or supercharger to fail. You have lower cylinder pressures and temperatures, fewer supporting systems, and less stress on the internal components. That doesn't make every naturally aspirated engine great, but it removes a massive layer of potential complexity. Number 2. Conservative tuning. Engines that aren't wrung out to the edge of their design tend to live longer. You're looking for modest horsepower, moderate compression ratios, and gentle redlines. Toyota, Honda, and some older Nissan and Mazda drivetrains are perfect examples. The engineers left performance on the table in favor of long-term durability. Number 3. Conventional transmissions. The forever cars typically avoid fragile dual-clutch units, low-end CVTs with a bad track record, and overly complex 8 to 10-speed automatics. Instead, they use simple 4, 5, or 6-speed torque converter automatics that have been around for years, or traditional manuals with cheap clutches. Number 4. Common, mature platforms. You want cars that sold in large numbers, were on the market for several years with small revisions, and have a massive aftermarket catalog. Obscure models with rare parts might be fun for hobby projects, but they're not what you buy when you want transportation that just works. Number 5. Boring is good. No air suspension, no four-wheel steering, no let's cram every feature we can into this car and hope for the best. You want steel springs, normal dampers, and basic power steering. The less exotic it is underneath, the more likely it is to be fixable at a reasonable cost when it's 15 years old. Now, instead of rattling off a list of specific models, which depends heavily on your region and market, let's talk about categories. Think of these as types, not gospel. Type 1. The Japanese compact. Think Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, older Mazda 3s, and basic Accords and Camrys. You want a non-turbo, four-cylinder, mid-trim level with no complicated all-wheel drive. Why do they last? They were designed from the start to be global workhorses, used as taxis, fleet cars, and family haulers everywhere. From a cost-per-mile standpoint, a well-bought Japanese compact is about as close as you get to a forever car. Type 2. The Japanese mid-size sedan. Think Toyota Camry, Honda Accord, or older non-turbo Subaru Legacies. Four-cylinder models are usually the safest bet. V6s can be great too, but more cylinders mean more potential cost. They're built to handle family duty for a decade plus and are incredibly comfortable for long trips. Type 3. The basic Japanese crossover. Think Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Toyota Highlander, or the first-generation Lexus RX. You want non-turbo engines and conventional automatics. These give you the proven drivetrain of a sedan, but with the vertical cargo space that makes them useful for a much longer phase of your life. Type 4. The old-school body-on-frame workhorses. Think Toyota 4Runner, older Tacomas, basic F-150s, or classic Chevy and GMC trucks with simple V8s. These have traditional frame construction and naturally aspirated engines designed for abuse. The downside is they're not as cheap up front anymore because the market figured this out, but bought at the right price, they are incredibly cheap per year of use. Type 5. The old man sedan, and I mean that in the best way. Think older Buicks, Toyota Avalons, and Lexus ES models. These are basic, large sedans with under-stressed V6s, bought new by someone who retired and just drove gently. These cars are criminally overlooked by younger buyers who chase image. That's good news for you. A 15-year-old grandpa spec sedan with full service records will easily outlast a newer, trendier car that's been beaten to death. But knowing the category is half the battle. Execution is the other half. Here's how you stack things in your favor. Step 1. Research the exact engine and transmission. Don't just say, Camrys are reliable. You want to know things like, this specific generation with the 2.4-liter is solid, but avoid the oil burner years. Adult car buyers get burned when they trust the badge instead of the details. Step 2. Prioritize maintenance history over the odometer. A 15-year-old car with regular oil changes, fresh transmission fluid, and a refreshed suspension is a much better bet at 160,000 miles than a mystery history car at 90,000. At our age, we know. People lie. Paper doesn't. Step 3. Get a pre-purchase inspection every time. You don't skip colonoscopies at 50. Don't skip inspections on a car you plan to keep. Have a trusted independent mechanic put it on a lift. If they say walk away, walk away. There will always be another used car. Step 4. Accept that some wear is normal. 200,000 miles and the driver's seat fabric is worn? Good. That means it's been used. You're not buying a museum piece. You want to avoid structural and mechanical rot, not the sign that a human being sat in it. Step 5. Budget to reset the car when you buy it. Mentally add the cost of an immediate oil change, filters, spark plugs, and fresh fluids across the board. You're essentially putting the car on a fresh maintenance baseline for your ownership. That money isn't wasted. It's what turns a cheap used car into a cheap car that can last. By the time a man hits his 30s, 40s, or 50s, priorities change. At 20, flashy might have mattered. At 40, you're probably more interested in zero surprises. You want your money in your investments, not in your driveway. Cheap cars that can last forever aren't about settling. They're about optimizing. You free up mental space because your car just works. You free up financial space because you're not constantly paying interest and repair bills. If that's the way you think, or the way you want to think, this channel is for you. Most car content targets kids, flex culture, or short attention spans. I'm here for the guys who've already made enough mistakes to appreciate a car that simply does its job well for a long time. If you want to go deeper into specific models and years that fit this profile, hit subscribe. I'm GearHead, Every car has a story, and together, we're going to decode the ones that are worth keeping.